Welcome one more day to Space and Harmony. And I'm recording with an old iPod which has the fragmentation of memory. So in case it gets cut off and I have to continue with another video, excuse me, I hope I can release all the ideas in this first take. And precisely, today I'm going to speak about the source of the disease in the human soul and the collective group of beings in this earth. And it has to do with fragmentation, the fragmentation of life, and therefore a need for wholeness, integration into the true flow of life, which is really the essence of healing, wholeness, healing. For that we need obviously consciousness, but that's not enough. Consciousness is very popular nowadays. People are speaking about universal consciousness and God as consciousness, but that's not enough. We need a conscience which expresses the primordial personality of the foundational source of absolutely all life, not death. There is no death in life. Life goes through worlds where there is death, but this death was the result of modifications which did not come from the primordial source. Actually, concerning all this, I'm going to leave in the blog, themusicofwisdom.blogspot.com. Down below you have the link. An essay or an article that I have written in response to something that was suggested by one of the listeners, having watched a video in Spanish, because I publish videos in Spanish and English in this channel, and he was suggesting that the primordial man, which we also call the tree of life in this channel, is really an archontic huge entity that projects tree of lives in worlds in order to feed off the creatures by means of false beliefs and deceptions. But there in the article I give reasons to show that this is really the description of the demiurge, the public God, the external manifestation of fallen energies that came from Mother Nature but became step Mother Nature, the public God, the demiurge, the Ouroboros, the serpent that bites its own tail. And that's true, but we cannot equate that to the primordial reality, which was also compared to a cosmic primordial man. And this is why it's important to understand the qualities of the primordial personality, supraconditional law, and modified life, where there is no death and there is no need for something external, so that there cannot be a Ouroboros. The Ouroboros is the result of fragmentation, of something lacking something. And there is also integral conscience, integration into a flow of seamless light, seamless life, and infinite realizations. And therefore also serenity. There is no restlessness. And all these aspects are part of the original soul that expresses that which is invisible. The soul has the function of expressing something that in its own is incomprehensible. The Holy One, in the state of absolute primordialness, let's say the Holy One lives in all, through all, and beyond all, because it's like a seed that reproduces everywhere, but it cannot be grasped like we grasp the colors. The Holy One makes himself known by means of a manifestation of life. However, in order to express the personality soul of the Holy One, we need the process of life. And here in this world, this process implies going through time and moments of distress, which are not present in the tree of life, but we are reintegrating the tree of knowledge of good and bad, the tree of death, or the soul's trap in this tree, into the tree of life. And therefore we need to plant seeds. Right now, we are in a time of preparing the grounds for planting seeds. Seeds are also being planted. Autumn and winter is the moment for that. And the powers of darkness are planting their seeds of darkness, preparing their grounds. Therefore, the beings of light are also doing the same. And we work in team. We are not isolated. We are growing in understanding. Therefore, we are joining and helping each other to accomplish a universal task of rescuing life. That's the mission of the universal Messiah. The universal understanding, because Messiah means understanding. This is not a religion, a dogma, a belief, a worship of some Lord God somewhere. The process of planting seeds also implies cultivation and taking care, accompanying the process of gestating, flourishing. And this is very much a process of healing as well, because as we plant seeds of conscience around and cultivate our own seed of conscience, then the human soul is somehow accompanied by the therapy of the original soul, which is also a healer. For instance, one of my missions is to help people find this healing. But in order for that to take place, it's necessary to know the fundamental purpose that the person has in this life. We cannot go anywhere without a vital goal, a vital purpose, around which all our tasks can be working together. Because we can do many things in life, but if we don't have a focus, then we get dispersed. Therefore, the beginning of healing, the beginning of integration into the wholeness, begins by knowing the will of the original primordial source, the true Father. And this will is manifesting life in all its richness, and love, which is connecting, elevating that which is lower to a deeper and higher vibration, if you wish, even though we are not speaking of higher and lower in terms of space. There is no up and down, left or right, back and forth in the original reality. There is oneness around the Holy One. And obviously all this implies nearness, closeness. Actually, when someone contacts me for counseling, I try to open a space where there can be confidence and closeness, even if the person is in other country, because it's that quality of nearness would make us closer to the deep intelligence of life in ourselves. Actually, the so-called plane of emanation at Silut comes from Etzel, which means near. In other words, the function of a therapist is to accompany so that the person can find the true healer within. And those of us who work with the soul therapy know that healing of the physical condition depends on the healing of the soul first. We cannot heal anything physical completely unless we shift the wrong beliefs, raise the vibration, because the lower vibrations of the heart, the mind, and the energy body is what brings disease on a physical level. Actually, what we are living now on Earth with this syndemia, which is a collection of factors that are leading people to get sick and to be led like sheep. Actually, what we are living right now is a demonstration, because the lower vibrations inspired by the fake science, fallen ideas that are released by politicians and doctors and other experts, are putting people in a state of low vibration. And don't think this is a coincidence. This is part of the strategies of darkness. Actually, 2000 years ago, when the master, whom people call Joshua, as you wish, he came with a team of souls, because the vibration of the planet was very low. But then the light started to grow because of the arrival of this group of souls. A global mission of rescue began in a more intense way. And darkness realized it was necessary to bring people down even more. And what a coincidence, that's precisely the time, 2000 years ago, when we find all over in texts the apparition of plagues in mass, the so-called people with demons, with impure spirits. We see that in the New Testament. We don't see this in the Old Testament. You won't find any mention to people with demons or demons. But we find that in the New Testament and also in Essene writings and other writings. The Essenes even generated their own strategies of spiritual defense. And Paulo, Shaul, said that we are not struggling against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, which are the archons, the princes, the rulers, dominations, powers, the spirits, the wicked spirits in the celestial regions. All these are different types of entities and also beings that had established their own kingdom many thousands of years ago and know when the light is grown, so they want to establish measures so that this light doesn't grow. And they get attached to people. They generate conditions of poverty, sickness, disease. So humanity is not entirely responsible for all that is taking place. And we must be very aware of that. Excuse the sound of the motorbike. It's very difficult sometimes to be quiet in this country. Spain is a crazy country. Everyone is very noisy, and the animals also get very excited by the people. So when it's not a dog barking, it's a motorbike. When it's not the motorbike, it's someone shouting. But let's be patient. All this is part of the spiritual war of darkness against us. And as I was saying, we don't have to fight against anyone. We have to express the original soul and therefore raise the vibration of our human soul, if you wish. Because we cannot do anything with the human soul and consciousness within the human soul. Today, consciousness is very popular. It's part of the speech of science. Now they say it's electromagnetism in the brain. The last stupidity I had to listen. And in the New Age religion they say it's God, consciousness, universal consciousness. But consciousness is part of the mother life. It comes from energies from the sun and the suns in general. But this is just a small portion of life. We need conscience, the personality of the Holy One. And this requires cultivation, a process of birth and learning as well. Because notice how the seed becomes sprout, then releases the stem, then flowers, then fruit. And the baby is planted like a seed into an ovum. It grows like an embryo. It's born through birth pangs. It becomes a baby that wants milk. It grows like a child that can learn and then becomes a man. This was used in the New Testament, for instance, in order to express the soul growth. This is the teaching of the Master, Yeshua. And very few are understanding this. They believe Yeshua is someone, some Lord, somewhere, that is also the Creator God. But Yeshua means salvation through life, through the process of life, giving birth to the original soul personality, which brings the invisible qualities of the Holy One into the manifestation. Wherever we are in a fallen world, therefore we have to manifest through life in this fallen world in order to unite the fallen energies of consciousness and life into the primordial source where there is conscience and consciousness is integrated. In the so-called tetragrammaton, the four-letter word associated with God in Scripture, we find the division of two heys. The first hey is the mother and the second hey is the daughter. Because, as I said, the mother life released some energies that got trapped into planets. And this was due to an accident, partially. But out of that accident, many intelligences hijack the energy of life and consciousness. And therefore, there is a need for uniting back the daughter and the mother, so that there can be a reintegration into the primordial source, the primordial father. And this can only be done by the so-called son, which unites mother and daughter. The mother is the spirit of life, and the daughter is the lost life. And the son reintegrates all that back, because obviously we have to become aware that mother life is real. It's not this nature that we see. This nature is part of step-mother nature, which is a fallen state of life. A copy, as I said in the first video, we are not seeing true nature. We are seeing copies of the foundational reality of life, where there are also beings of true life, and they are immortal, they do not die. In the absolute reality, there is no death, and some of us came from there, but let's say we have to grow in this reality, giving birth to ourselves in this reality. This is a completely new process that some of us started. Not everyone goes through this process, but the so-called universal Messiah has the mission of going through the worlds of darkness in order to elevate and heal. This is the mission of the universal Messiah that must constitute our main focus, our main purpose. And everyone does this in a different way, because everyone has different qualities, has different talents. And this is also contained in the seed of the soul, the seed of light and life within ourselves. Because the Primordial Father has a destiny in each one of us. We express the will of the Primordial Father in a different way, because he never repeats anything, and it's only him who expresses through us. We don't exist a part of the personality of the Holy One when we are manifesting the true original soul. Therefore, we are not being copies of Yeshua, salvation. Yeshua is our master, our teacher, because he manifested the original soul in a more complete way, more complete than many others. I think other teachers might have been close. The Buddha, the awakened one, got close to the Son of Man, but his teaching was still incomplete and was even more distorted than the teaching of the Master. We can find a complete teaching in the New Testament when we read the Gospels in Greek with the background that we see from Aramaic and Hebrew, which is very clear for those who study. Actually, the New Testament was not invented by the Church. It already existed before the so-called canon was established in the 4th century. The Church obviously mistranslated that and took away additional writings, such as the Shepherd of Hermas, and also the writings of Philip, the writings of Thomas, which are very important in order to discover the teachings concerning the so-called kingdom, which is not a kingdom, but the Malkut, the foundational reality of the Father. And as the Master said, if you don't become like little children, you will not enter the Malkut of heaven. The Malkut is the foundational reality in the tree of life. And this begins when we assimilate the impressions of true life with true understanding. So this is not just a process of consciousness, of being aware. We have to understand what we are, why we are here, what's our true mission. And this is really the beginning of healing.